Hello, 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 and welcome back to The 12. This is a show about the Women's Super League, aka the highest division of women's football in England. We're here to discuss all things WSL, both on and off the field. Each week, we'll be breaking down games, showcasing stars, and highlighting important stories surrounding the game. My name is Deepti, and I'm here with my co-hosts Marc, Thom Bomb, and Treb. And this week, it's about the FA not having faith in their own teams making the Champions League group stage. What do we mean by that, guys?
Yeah, what do we mean by that?
So, UEFA had sent Champions League dates well in advance for this for the group stage matches, and the Football Association, the FA, decided that they were going to have Chelsea play a match on Sunday against Manchester United. That match has now been postponed to a to-be-determined date because Chelsea's turnaround was going to be Sunday and then playing again in the Champions League on Tuesday. So because all three English teams advanced to the group stage, no accommodation was really made for that possibility. So all three of those teams are scheduled to play for Sunday, because I know City plays West Ham on Sunday, October the 6th. Does Arsenal also play on Sunday, October the 6th?
Arsenal plays Sunday the 6th. They play Everton.
So no accommodation or any foresight from the Football Association was made. It was like, hey, how could we possibly make this a Saturday game? How could we possibly make this a Friday game? As Marc, Marc, you played, like, Chelsea's played all their matches on league matches on Friday, yes? So far this season?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Against Aston Villa and against Crystal Palace, yeah. Like, you could have easily scheduled one of those matches the same week as the, impending UEFA match, especially for Chelsea. You knew they were going to be in the group stage. So yeah, I don't know. It was interesting seeing the clapback between the FA and UEFA, basically being like the FA trying to be like, hey, UEFA, why didn't you work with us? And UEFA being like, hey, you knew these dates well.
You knew this. This is all on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, it is the first time that all three WSL teams that had a chance at making the group stage have made it since the new format, and the format changed in the 2021-22 season. However, I feel like even though, like, it's only been a new format for a few seasons, like 3 years of prior data of having just two teams in one or two in the group stage is not enough to, like, place all your bets on that happening and then already messing up the schedule 3 weeks into the regular season.
I mean, you would also think that you would have faith in your own kind of league, right? You would want all three of the teams to be represented in the Champions League, and so they're not even planned for that possibility. It says a lot, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like you would err on the side of having more success.
I mean, let's be honest. They probably didn't think Arsenal would get past. Like, that's been the team that has struggled to get in as of late. Like Marc said, we all knew Chelsea was getting in, and with how City have played, I'm sure everyone felt they were pretty good favorites to get through. So, and as Arsenal proved in the first leg, like, they were the ones that had all the work to do. So, but you should still plan for the best case scenario. That's why they say hope for the best, plan for the worst, I guess. But, like, in this case, they didn't even plan for the best case.
Yeah.
And, like, there is precedent for the FA not helping their teams out in Champions League. They do this in the men's game all the time. Like, manager after manager after manager have complained about this. So, at least they're consistent, I guess. Like,
at least they're fair with how shitty they are.
They're equal opportunity screw our member organizations over. Yes.
Yeah. And you know who I really feel bad for are the fans, because like that match that was set to be played at King's Meadow between Chelsea and Man U was sold out, and so now they, you know, a lot of people are gonna have to make new arrangements. Also, that was going to be a Sky Sports match, which, you know, I don't care about them so much, but it's still like hugely inconvenient. It's just it's a pain in the ass overall that could have been avoided.
Yeah, and they don't even have a new date yet, right? So they can't even plan for the new match because they don't know when it is. So it might be on a day where they can't even go, which would be really unfortunate.
Yeah. And let me tell you a federation that will move heaven and earth for their member clubs. That is the RFEF. Because if Real Madrid, Barca, and Atleti would have made it, man, there would have been some shuffling and arrangements in that Liga F schedule. Let me tell you what.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure Real Madrid are playing on Friday, prior to their first match versus Chelsea.
There you go. So. They thought ahead.
What a novel concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're playing on that Friday. I think Valencia.
Well.
So, cool. Yeah.
Anyway, they hopefully will learn, and I'm wondering now, looking ahead in the schedule, I haven't looked at it, but if there are any potential conflicts and poor scheduling ahead of in like mid-season later in the group stage. Probably are, considering like group stage is they play home and away against everybody in their group, so that's 6 matches. So there's bound to be some sort of conflict again among the 3 teams from the WSL in there. But they will cross that bridge when they get there.
Hope for the best.
Yeah. But speaking of Chelsea, they opened this weekend's play again, like we said, on Friday night, this time against Crystal Palace, who are the newly promoted team. Chelsea ended up winning 7-0, which honestly kind of expected them to run up the scoring a bit. However, it was only 1-0 at halftime. So that was, like, Crystal Palace showed some promise in the first half. Marc, you probably can speak better on this game.
Yeah, and I would agree. You know, from what I saw, yeah, you know, I thought Palace held really solid shape. They actually didn't concede until later this time around. I think it was the 41st minute, was it? The 38th minute, right? And you know, they had their chances themselves too. You know, like Annabelle Blanchard, the midfielder, Katie Stengel. There's even, you know, they could have even opened the scoring. But you know, they got caught forward, a little too forward one time. Chelsea hit him on the counter. Beautiful through ball by Sukanushkin. And then Kennard, you know, down the channel with the cutback to Beaver Jones to open the scoring. It was just like a really nice goal. You love seeing cutbacks. You know, everybody loves a good cutback. So I know City fans especially. It's a staple. So, but yeah, you know, even then, like 1-0 at halftime, I think you would you'd have been feeling positive if you were Palace. And then, you know, second half, Lauren James sends a cross from the left. Palace is sitting deep, right, which you expect especially against Chelsea. And so the whole back line, you know, they defend the header, but the whole back line is sitting deep, and which allows Lucy Bronze to run onto the ball. And like, I don't know if you guys saw the goal, but the camera angle was just perfect. It was like literally right behind her. You could see her just arrow the ball into the top corner. It really, like, goalkeeper had no chance. And it was good seeing that from Lucy Bronze. Obviously, you know, she figures to be an important player, you know, especially her being a Bon Pastor signing, right? Somebody she's worked with before. So it was good to see that contribution. I thought she had a solid game. Where I thought the match really turned, so I thought Bon Pastor's subs were interesting in that they were very attacking. So it's 2-0, 54th minute. Vika Kaptein, think she's a Hungarian international. I know she played for 20. She actually signed with Chelsea last summer in 2023, but went back to 20 on loan. So she's now actually making her debut for Chelsea. So she came on, replaced Cuthbert in the midfield. And Myra Ramirez, who started the last match, she actually did not start this match, but she comes in for Knerd. And then about 10 minutes later, both fullbacks, Lucy Bronze and Ashley Lawrence, subbed off for Eve Paraset, who's also a fullback, but Sandy Baltimore, who's a forward, and then Macario came on in the 71st minute for Sukanushkin, which is basically like a forward for a midfield sort of sub. So like by the end of it, Chelsea really only had one holding midfielder in there and like 5 forwards. And I think that goes a huh? Yeah.
I said they went for the kill with
yeah. I think it was partially that, yeah. I also think she wanted to try different combinations. So I thought Myra Ramirez was really good when she came on. She was her and Beaver Jones kind of combined on the right side before she sent across into Lauren James to make it 3-0. For the fourth goal is another really nice combination between, let's see, I think it was Paraset, Beaver Jones, Macario plays Kapteinen, and then she cuts it back for Groreiden, and it was just so good. Like, I have to admit, it was seeing them bounce the ball around like that. It was just like, oh, this could be a lot of fun. Natalie Bjorn, who started at center back in place of Khadijah Buchanan. She scored the 5th goal on the corner, sent in by Macario. Wrightson scored another goal after with an assist from Baltimore. She didn't get the credit for the assist, but she basically got the ball from Baltimore, who took on her defender before sending it over. And then Macario and Ramirez combined for Macario to score. And that was Myra Ramirez, took a shot. It was a rebound, and Macario went in and scored. So, but I think, yeah. So I think it was. I do think she also wanted to run up the score. Like one of the things I was saying is it's not really a wrong time to worry about goal difference. And like all these matches count the same, and like when you're playing a relegation fodder team, you got to take advantage. So, but I also think it was an important performance just for confidence sake. It's like I think the first match, okay, it's first match jitters. Aston Villa isn't a bad team, so you kind of you're happy with the win. But I think you wanted to see more of Bon Pastor's style being implemented. And I think you saw that, and I think one of the things she has talked about, and then you clearly see it in the action, is she's going to rotate, which, of course, why not? But, like I said, it was interesting seeing the different combinations, and it'll be curious to see who starts, and in what roles going forward.
Okay, so speaking of who starts, once Sam Kerr gets healthy, once Mia Fisher gets healthy, who start? And then I know that Kat Macario's not at 90 minutes fit yet, right. But who starts at center forward once all 4 of those players are 90 minutes fit?
I would have to say Sam Kerr. Now, I would caution people for expecting Kerr to come back this season. Like, there's plenty of time. She might. But, the ACLs, obviously, it varies in terms of how quickly players can come back. I do think Kerr would eventually reclaim her spot. Macario, I do think she probably needs to be starting a lot of games eventually, but then it's like for Lauren James maybe, or because we've seen Knerd and Beaver Jones on the right. I guess you could see Akari on the right as well. I don't know if I would love her in that role, but yeah, that's tough because Lauren James too had an interesting game. I thought the first half she was kind of quiet. She was also collecting the ball really deep. Like she was collecting the ball from the center backs, which to be fair, the center backs were at the half line. But I thought like it was kind of interesting seeing her try to find the game. I didn't think she was that effective at it. And then second half, I thought her being a little more direct. I also think she benefited from the Ramirez sub. So yeah, I don't know. But I think Sam Kerr ultimately will start at center forward.
It's just a good problem to have for Sonia Bompastor.
Embarrassment of riches.
It really all the trophies.
Yeah, and like going down the line, like we've been saying, Champions League is the one trophy that they want, and having a bunch of people available and being able to like rest legs and sub in equally good talent is going to help them as we go further into each of these competitions. So yeah, hopefully we will see Sam back. But like we said, we don't know about. I don't actually know how far along in her recovery journey she is, but hopefully it's going well.
Yeah.
Just real quick on Crystal Palace, they had some promising like chances, and it seems as though if they just had, I guess, more finishing talent or like attackers who were cleaner and better at finishing, then like they would have scored. Like other better teams, quote unquote, would have scored on Chelsea in those similar moments. So what does like Palace kind of need to work on, I guess? And do you think that they'll be able to score enough goals and get points to survive relegation this season?
I think. Oh, you got it?
Oh no, you can.
You got it. Go ahead.
I guess where I would start, I guess in terms of a positive, is look at your first halves, right? Like they've been in those games, and it's not to say like they haven't been able to create chances. So, it's I guess a matter of replicating that in the second half. But it's also tough when you're not scoring because like then you're just bend and don't break and then I think when that second goal goes in, then it's really tough because then you have to come out a little bit, and the more open the game is, maybe the more difficult it is, especially when teams are making subs, right? So yeah, I think they brought in Stengel for a reason, obviously. I think it kind of starts with her. But I don't know if any of the young players that they have, if they have any young talent that they can maybe give more of a chance to. I don't know if like Alexia Potter, for example, if she can provide in the goals department. But yeah, I don't know, or maybe Poppy Pritchard, but I don't know if there's too much more. I don't know if they're doing anything necessarily that much wrong. I just think it's always going to be an uphill battle for them.
Yeah, that's fair. Treb, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, like, I think that's going to be their biggest battle in the WSL this season, because through 2 matches, they've only had 9 shots, period. And only 2 of them have hit the target. So, I mean, I know they've gone against 2 really tough sides, and I still think that third Leicester match is going to be like a really good litmus test for them. But to get that few looks at goal is really troubling, I think. I think it's different if like they're at least getting 10, 12 shots a game and they're just not going in. Like you can say, okay, they just need that kind of clinical finish in the final third, but they're not even getting looks. And if you're not going to get looks in this league, you're not going to have a chance at all. So I think that needs to be priority number 1 for Palace for sure going forward.
Yeah, good point. Okay, next match we had Manchester City versus Brighton. This one ended 1-0 in City's favor, and it was exciting because Jill Roord returned after almost 250 days away. She was sidelined for 249 days because of, again, another ACL injury. But she was back. She looked good. She played, I think, just over 10 minutes. Came in about the 80th, 81st minute or so. But yeah, Tom, what do you think about this game?
Honestly, like to me, I think that the biggest thing about this game was that it was um the opposite result of last year's fixture because literally we had 22 shots. City had 22 shots last year, and none of them went in. And I think Brighton had like three, and one of them went in like the 85th plus minute or something like that, and that sealed the match. And it was over from there. So just to be able to score in that match was very important. It was interesting to see Naomi Lazelle get a start, City Academy product. She's 20 years old because Layla Wahhabi is out at the moment with an injury. And I think that that is going to be problematic going forward because I think that her improvement from year one to year two in this league, in this team specifically, was probably one of the best improvements I've seen of any player in this league. Honestly, because I like she at some points like really did become like a lockdown outside back, and like wingers were taking her on, but she was still up to that challenge. So she's going to be a big missing piece going forward. I do think that Jill Roord coming back is going to make things very, very interesting, especially since it seems like Gareth is wanting to play double eights, but both of those eights that he is playing are tens, because you cannot tell me that like Jess Park might give you some box to box action, but that's just because she's as young as she is and she's gonna like cover some ground, but she might not know what to do when she gets there. On the defensive end anyway. Because I think we all love Viv on this podcast, but one thing that Viv is not about to do is track back. And I think we all know that
Yeah.
about Viv. Like that's not going to happen for her. The goal was beautiful. You have
Yeah.
Yui Hasagawa releasing Kirsten Kasparai into space, fizzing across the six. Bunny Shaw just getting a foot to it, tapping it on the other side of the keeper. Right before, and I think that the timing of the goal was important, because anytime you score a goal right before halftime on an opponent that is less talented than you are, that kind of makes that opponent like grasp for straws, like, oh my gosh, we did so well for the first 40 minutes and then like it all fell apart, and like how do we regroup? And to Brighton's credit, they did come out in the second half a little bit better, but like they still weren't really up to the challenge in the second half. And to me, I think the biggest storyline to take from this game is just Jill Roord coming back, because like that's not even a full calendar year. I mean, it's barely 3/4 of a year, and here she is, 9 months, and here she is coming back after 249 days. So that's exciting to see. And if it can help improve the depth of the squad, I think that's really, really, really encouraging, especially with all of the competitions that I know that City wants to compete in going forward.
Yeah. I was looking at some of the stats. I didn't get to watch this game in its entirety, but the expected goals at the end comparison seemed like, obviously City had like more shots, and I think more shots on target, but it seemed quite low for what I was actually seeing in the game and in the highlights. But maybe it's just because I guess they had the shots. They were kind of messy though, both teams, when they had their chances. A lot of shots went wide, some went straight at the keeper, some were like, I guess, shots taken from outside that have low XG, but for those people, like the people who took them, it's actually higher than average. So, yeah, what do you think of that? Like, it seemed like this wasn't the cleanest match for either of them.
No, it was not by far. And I think part of it is you would have to think that part of it is legs. Gareth Taylor really has not rotated the squad a lot. I mean, there was some rotation from the squad that beat Puri FC 3-0 in the midweek, but not a whole bunch, not enough to make you think that, like, oh, yeah, like this is a brand new squad. And the squad is really, really deep, which I know that this squad is deep. So that I think that as a City fan, that's what makes it frustrating. Is like, why are you
Mm-hmm.
not rotating these players? Because you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, going off of that, like, do you think he has set his best 11, or do you think he still has time or wants to kind of experiment with different rotations? Or is Gareth Taylor pretty much set in his ways?
I think that Gareth Taylor is doing his level best to send a message to Chloe Kelly. What that message is, I don't know. Because she was named player of the match in the Puri FC match, had a goal early on, just off of pressing the keeper and taking it from her and then
Mm-hmm.
scoring, had an assist on one of Bunny Shaw's goals. Um, so she has been a very, very good player when she has had the opportunity to play. Um, that stated, Alba Fagino has started both of the league matches at right wing. So I don't know what that necessarily means. I think he does have a preferred center back pairing in Greenwood and Alexandri. I think
Mm-hmm.
that he will bring in Kennedy in emergencies. Um, I I do think that he would rather have Layla Wahhabi healthy if he could. But since he doesn't, he's going to go ahead and flip Kirsten Kasparai to the left as opposed to the right, and then bring in Naomi Lazelle. Uh, I'm I'm fearful in the fact that like there's really not a one for one replacement for Yui Hasagawa, who I believe to be the best holding midfielder in this league. And that can be a problem. That might be a problem going forward, especially if with all of the competitions that you know that you want to
Mm-hmm.
play, and especially when she goes away for international break. We've already seen that can get to her because she, the travel and all that's entailed with that. So I do think that he has a specifics. I don't know if he's identified who his best 11 are. I think that he has specific players that he would like to play when they are available. Um, but I think that his best 11 might not fill out a team sheet the best way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that, like, you can't necessarily start Bunny and Mary Fowler and Lauren Hemp and Chloe Kelly and Viv Miedema and Jess Park all together.
Mm-hmm. Another puzzle to fix, I guess, for him.
Yeah.
All right. Then up, we had Everton versus Man United. Another 1-0 scoreline here, and this time 1-0 to the other Manchester team, to Man United. This was, I think, a lot closer than people expected it to be. Unfortunately, Everton, another player of theirs went down with a knee injury that the head coach thinks could be another ACL. They lost one player last weekend. And so, yeah, that would be, I think they're two of like the key players for Everton as well, which really sucks for them. That happened early on in the match, which I think did kind of change a bit of how it did end up playing out. But Yeah, I know, Mark, you watched this one. How did you feel about how United played, and then Everton versus last weekend when it wasn't great?
Yeah. So in the last episode, I said I just wanted to see Everton kind of fight back, and they did. They actually, this was I thought it was a bright start to the match overall. It was kind of end to end. And actually, the only goal that in this match came in the 4th minute. A really bad giveaway by Everton, but or I guess you could say you could call it good pressure. If you're a United fan. But Grace Clinton, gets on the ball, takes it herself, cuts in, scores. Really well taken goal, good composure. And yeah, they kind of made that lead stick. But to your, as you mentioned earlier, so Inma Cabarro, their young Spanish forward, went down in the 14th minute. And it was a really innocuous, like shoulder to shoulder, and she immediately went down. She looked distraught. It wasn't good. Like it took they stretched her off, took a few minutes, and I do think that kind of changed the tenor of the match. The match was less end to end at that point. I thought Everton did okay. They actually, going back to before that injury, Man U had to make a goal line save in the 6th minute. Just highlighting the back and forth nature of it. But yeah, I mean, like, of course, the scoreline says it, and I think also, you look at the stats, like they're basically even in possession, 48-52. They're basically even on shots, 10-9, in favor of United. So Everton had their chances. Although I will say, as the match wore on, especially the second half, I felt like they were less and less in it. Like typically, like, especially with one goal deficits at the end of a match, is usually like that scramble or drama. I didn't think there was that much drama. In fact, the only drama towards the end was United almost scoring, and Everton's center back, I think Van Hafmet, made a goal line header save. So, but yeah. Good win for United. Fun fact, actually, so a couple of fun facts. Everton have never beaten United in the WSL, and for Manchester United, this was their first back-to-back league wins since February. Like, yeah, you're talking. Yeah, they're talking about like 8 months. Now, obviously, like that's including the off season, but still, because I mean, at one point last season they were doing well, and then they kind of fell off. So
yeah, kind of similar. Another note: this is they have 2 clean sheets in their first 2 matches, and I think their first clean sheet last season came like at least in match week 3, if not later. It was like sometime between the 3rd and 5th match. I can't remember, but they conceded like a lot last season, and now I mean it's only been 2 matches, but 2 clean sheets already. Like it seems like Fallon is settling in, which led me to like the question: like, do you think she should have started in goal for United more or like earlier last season? I know Mark Skinner mentioned something in an interview about he's like, Fallon is not a replacement for Mary Earps. She's just like, she's always been there and we always knew how good she was, and she's just like jumped in. We don't want to say that she's like replacing her, but she kind of is. And you can kind of compare the two and see like how we all know from like watching her in the NWSL and like before, like how good she is. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're biased, but I almost feel like Fallon should have been in goal a lot more last year as well.
Yeah, and that's because Mary Earps is the English number 1, right? So I think also it was kind of a weird move when it happened. It was like, how is this going to work? And then what's ironic about that is you fast forward to when Mary Earps left, and it was like, these players leaving United, and the reasons why we assume that was happening, but they did always have foul in there, right? So I don't want to say like United planned it out necessarily that way, but she's I think I don't think they're missing Mary Earps right now, so yeah, I mean, like, and she's been really good too. She made a couple key saves in the match on, what was this, Sunday? Yes, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, she should have been. It's tough to say she should have been starting before, just because, like, I understand why she didn't replace Mary Earps, but she's really good. Like you said, we knew it. We didn't knew that. And it's good to see her getting her chance now.
Okay. I just looked up last season's matches, and United had their first clean sheet came in the fourth match day 4 against Everton, funny enough. But yeah, they were used to conceding, and now I think they can it seems like they're strong. I know, again, it's only been a couple games, but they could be contenders.
And you know what would have been great? Would have been great to see them have a real test against Chelsea this weekend. But the FA said, no, we don't believe
we have to wait
in
for that
our
one.
teams.
We
don't believe in our teams in the UWSL. So we don't know anything about United until...
Fair. We don't know until when.
Until we know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Until we know.
The one question that I did have for Marc on this match is about Grace Clinton, because as you mentioned, she scored the goal. And we talked last week about who the number 10 would be, kind of who's emerging. And I mentioned that I thought it would probably be Grace Clinton. And just from my perspective, I feel like she solidified that even more so with this match. One of the best players on the pitch. And I think she had, I think it was like 73% success rate in her passing for the match. So I just wanted to know, just as someone else who saw it, what did you think of her and her performance?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously stood out with the goal, right? I think also in the modern game, you want your number 10. They're important with the pressing, and so you saw that as well. And actually, the comments after she scored, the commentators were kind of talking about sort of her journey at United. She's been out on loan a couple times. I think she's played for Everton. She's former Everton player, right? Yeah. So it seems like it's almost like she's been. They've been preparing her for this role, and to be a major contributor in the team. So yeah, I think that it's been a promising start to the season for her, and I don't see why she would lose her place anytime soon.
Yeah, like Thom said, it'd be great to see her go up against Chelsea. That'd be fun.
They have a couple big games coming up.
We don't get that right now.
Not right now.
No.
All right.
But I guess their
had...
their next match is against Liverpool.
Oh, sorry.
So that's something.
Okay. Yeah. There are good matchups coming up. Yeah, all right. We also had Leicester City versus Arsenal, another 1-0 game. Arsenal won 1-0, and this one to me it was kind of goalkeeper showdown. There were a lot of good saves in this match. Really promising from Leicester, and honestly kind of disappointing from Arsenal, especially in the final third. But yeah, Treb, I know you obviously watched this one. So if you want to give your thoughts first.
Okay. You want me to take the lead on this one? Yeah, I think for Arsenal, like you mentioned, their final third play was to be desired, but they did do enough in the end, with Freedom Autumn getting on the end of one for the lead. You mentioned the goalkeeper showdown. I will say that is the one thing about the match that stood out for me is I think Arsenal have their number 1 goalkeeper now, and Van Domsela. She had an amazing match. She made several big saves. It felt different with her there. Again, I know that their finishing wasn't great, but that's not her job. That's not on her. But just defensively, it felt a lot more confident. Like, okay, the game isn't getting away from us. It didn't feel like they were gonna let in a fluky goal like they tend to let in. It was just a very professional 1-0 match. I will say, I wish I would have seen the last 10 minutes of it. That would have been phenomenal. But I didn't get to do that. We'll probably go deeper into that later. But yeah, YouTube
We'll get to that.
letting us down. But from what I gather, they were able to close it out well. They got the win. That's really all that matters for them. I'm still kind of pleasantly surprised with how they've played the first couple of matches in the league. Like I mentioned earlier, the loss to Häcken, the first leg of the Champions League, was really worrying because it was very much like, here we go again, same old Arsenal. But to respond with the draw against City, and then to get past Häcken in the second leg, and then to get the win on the road to Leicester in that fashion was huge. So, but I think that's the real story, is Van Domselaar, your number one.
Wait, didn't Manu just sign a contract extension last season?
She did.
Was it last season? I think it was at the start of last season, but it was only like a 2-year, 3-year deal. Like, I think she's nearing the end of it.
Let's check on that. But
yeah,
I'm so glad we brought Van Domselaar in, and like, whether or not she does get the number one spot, I think it's just good to have competition for Manu and just have competition in the goalkeeper spot, and also like rotation. Like we know we have a lot of important games coming up, and it'll be good to like have a couple options if we need them. And I don't know, it's interesting. Maybe you guys could talk more on this, but do you feel that there's ever kind of more of a, I don't know what the word is, but between goalkeepers and their back line, like more fusion between certain pairings of back defenders and goalkeepers? Like, do certain goalkeepers prefer certain defenders to play in front of them? Like, is that something that coaches can experiment with, or is it kind of like whoever's in goal, they're in goal, and defenders do what they need to do no matter what?
I think that there is, I mean, I think across all levels of football and all reaches of the world, I think that there definitely is a synergy that happens between goalkeepers and backline. And I think that there's such an emphasis in the modern game for a goalkeeper to be able to not only shot stop, they also need to be able to distribute as well. So I think that when you have a player like Van Domselaar, who is more of that more modern goalkeeper who can do all of those things and has been doing all of those things at a very high level, like ever since she bursted onto the scenes in the Euro 22 tournament. I think that's probably does boost the confidence of like a Codina or a Leah Williamson. Just like, oh, I feel a little bit more comfortable with this goalkeeper back here, whereas they've seen Manu's movies before.
I think it helps Fox too, because like I feel like she's the one out of the defenders that actually, like, I think she's a great defender. I think she's been a solid addition for Arsenal, but I also think she's like not necessarily the weak link, but the one that needs kind of like a solid goalkeeper behind her to help with that confidence. And then just to put a stamp on the Manu contract, she signed a 2-year deal with a club option for a 3rd year, and she signed that in January 2024. So
so midway through last season.
So yeah, she's got a year left plus a club option for another year should they desire. But like I said, I think we ride with Van Domselaar for a little bit to see what she can do.
Yeah. And I actually think, like, besides Van Domselaar, I think Emily Fox was my player of the match for this game. She really held down that right back, and she wasn't even supposed to start. She was supposed to be on the bench. 20 minutes before the match started, she was told she was starting because Laura Wienreuther had picked up an injury, a little nick, and hopefully she's okay. But I think she did end up going off on crutches. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, Emily Fox came in, and like the first only like 5 to 7 minutes, honestly, I feel like Leicester kind of had Arsenal on the ropes. Like Beth Mead was back defending and helping out back there. But yeah, after that, she kind of settled in. Emily Fox was great. There's one, I don't know what minute it was, but she just did not give up and bodied the ball off some of the Leicester players, and it led to a really, really good shot on target. But the Leicester keeper made an incredible save also. So yeah, Emily Fox was player of the match for me, actually.
I would agree. And
yeah,
a match against Everton for Arsenal next. So hopefully they can take advantage of what is on paper an easy opponent. I hate saying those words.
Less talented side. That's how
right?
you get.
Like
that's how you get away
talented.
with less talented side
without too much drama.
Yeah, we need to score more goals. We need to do what Chelsea did.
Speaking of goal scoring, I believe there was another question from this match.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll ask it. Do we think that Alessia Russo is in a bit of a slump right now? I know, obviously, it's only been a couple matches, but there have also been a couple Champions League matches. Yeah.
Well,
what do we think?
Has it only been a couple of matches? Because I think when she first signed with Arsenal, there was an expectation that she would at least be a threat on, like, I don't want to say like on the level of Viv, but that she would be someone that they could rely on consistently to score goals, maybe lead them and carry them from time to time should they need her to. And I don't think she's done that maybe but 2 times since she's been at Arsenal. Now, I think a lot of that first season was settling in and getting used to Jonas being your manager. You know, I'm sure that was a bit of a culture shock for her, thinking she was going to come to a whole like better situation than Man United. In a lot of ways it is, but I think managerially there's still to be desired. But that said, I think there's been more flashes this season of what she can bring and her potential. So I'm hoping that we're at least going to see her get on a run. But I think that much like for those familiar, Alyssa Thompson in the NWSL, I think right now with with Russo, it's more just between the ears. I think it's just, I think she needs to see 1, maybe 2 goals go in, and then we're going to see the goals flowing, especially with Rosa Kovaci here. And I think that she's going to be there to provide a lot of service and open up some play. So, yeah. But I think it's a fair question to ask. I mean,
to me, she has not been the player that she was 2 seasons ago at United. She just hasn't. She hasn't been that impactful. And this might just be my city bias. I still think that Stina Blackstenius is your more dangerous, striker between the two of them. But I do agree with Treb a lot. I think just watching her play, you get the sense that a lot of it is just in between the ears. Like she's thinking a lot. Like, am I doing the right thing for this system, for this style of play? And I think that's even carried over to her international play when she plays for the Lionesses. I don't think that she's been as effective since she's made the move from United to Arsenal.
Part of me thinks, because watching from a couple seasons ago, both on the national team and at United, she was a forward who liked to drift outward. Like she liked to drift to the sides, play wide balls, those kind of things. And I know that Jonas has said that he's trying to keep her and train her to be more central and stay central. And so maybe that's where all the like overthinking comes into play, where she's like trying to fit into his system, trying to constrict herself to where she can move, and that's why it hasn't clicked for her yet, I feel like. And I think they're working on it with like Serena Wiegman on the national team is also working on keeping her more central and keeping her focused so that she can become a goal scoring machine of sorts. Like I know he wants her to be he has said he was like, I expect her to score 20 plus goals a season at some point. That's what that's what the goal is, and that's honestly that's why they signed her. Like they want her to score goals. But yeah, so maybe hopefully it won't take too much longer, and like you said, maybe she just needs one or two to open the floodgates, but something still hasn't clicked for her, I think. And yeah, we can definitely see that given the chances that she's had and what she's missed and how she's missed them.
I say you let her do what she wants to do for like a match or two. Like if she wants to drift outside, I said, because Arsenal doesn't have players on the outside that you feel like, oh my God, you're getting in their way. You can't kind of have the freedom to do what you want. I think just let her do her for a couple matches and kind of play around that. It can't be much worse than what you do now. You know what I mean? In terms of not finishing in the final third. So just like, if that's what it takes to get her confidence going, I feel like that wouldn't be a bad thing to do. Again, especially going into a match like Everton, where on paper you should be able to afford to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree, and I think that like you have wingers that are able to, that have shown that they are able to play centrally at times. Like it doesn't. If she wants to drift out wide, like there shouldn't necessarily be a problem for Beth Mead to swap in centrally, like because Beth Mead is comfortable playing centrally, and she's shown that before.
Yep.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. All right. We'll see. Okay. We also had West Ham against Liverpool. This one ended in a 1-1 draw. We didn't get to see the equalizer.
We did not. No, we did not. So when we pulled up Thom Bomb, we were very, very confused. Like, what do you mean somebody scored? Huh? What?
Yeah. But again, we see that like Liverpool went up 1-0 and then gave away the lead. Last week it was only a few minutes, I think, that they had the lead. And that one also ended 1-1. But this time they scored within the first 10 minutes. Then West Ham scored in the last 10 minutes. And it's got to be so frustrating for Matt Beard, for Liverpool. What do they need to do to be able to like close out these games? Because they're a talented team. They can score, they can win, but they haven't done that yet.
Okay. I will answer your question, but first I have to talk about this Olivia Smith goal because it was so beautiful. It was like she gets the ball from Sophie Hogg. It looks like she's kind of drifting wide of the box on the right. She sets up the defender such that it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this right-footed shot. I'm going to take, oh no, I'm going to switch it back to my left. Leaves the defender in the dust. It makes like 3 yards of space for her to get off the shot, and then the keeper was not catching that shot at all. They never had a chance. It was just mwah. Now, to answer your question, this stat will say it all about this particular match. Liverpool had 17 shots in this match. 4 of them were on goal. 4. And I think that pretty much says everything about Liverpool and this match. Like, they create really fun chances. They create good chances, but they're not even close to threatening a goalkeeper. Because anytime that you have 17 shots, you would expect that if you're a team that is wanting to contend for Champions League places in this league, you're going to expect that at least 7 of them go on frame. And if the keeper makes 6 saves, like, hey, hats off to that keeper. Like, they had a great match. But if you're only forcing the keeper to make 3 saves and only one of them goes in, that in and of itself is just what is killing Liverpool and why they've gotten off to what I would say is a slower start in this particular two matches, because as you know, I will stand by this. I still believe that Matt Beard is the best manager in the league. He might not have the most talented players, but I do think that there are players that are talented that are creating chances. Like Taylor Hines had a few through balls from the left wing back spot in this match. Just beautiful. Like, you wouldn't expect your left wing back to thread through balls into your striker in the manner in which she did, and yet the West Ham defense was basically powerless against them. And then once they go into the box, like their shots wide, shots over the bar, never really testing the keeper. And then if to go to West Ham's goal, which I had to catch on a replay of the highlights because YouTube decided that they were going to cut out. I'm going to hammer that point home. I don't know what Rachel Laws was doing when Ueki got the service, and like I don't think I've ever seen a keeper chipped from their own penalty spot. But that is literally what happened on Ueki's goal, because Rachel Laws came so far out and was so aggressive that like Ueki really had no place to put the ball except for over the keeper's head, and it just went in the net. And because there was no way, and there was no way for the defenders for Liverpool to even get a chance to catch up to it. So when you're going to not be clinical in the way that Liverpool was not clinical, you got to be defensively sound for 90 minutes, and they were for 85, and then they just kind of switched off, and that's why the match ended in a 1-1 result.
Dang. I was gonna ask if West Ham showed like promise, but I guess, you know, like you said, Liverpool didn't even give them a chance to like. Liverpool didn't give themselves a chance to like put themselves ahead. So whether or not West Ham showed improvement, it wouldn't have mattered on Liverpool's end. But yeah, how did West Ham look compared to them last week?
They look like a team with a pulse, which is like I know that sounds insulting, but I know that I get that, and I'm sorry, Hammers fans, and you all can come at me at Thom Bomb 816, fill my mentions. Hey, they look like a team with a pulse and a team with a plan. They never, even though Olivia Smith scored that early goal, they never got out of what they wanted to do. Even though they were at home, they did want to try and defend in a fairly low block and hit you on the counter. It wasn't until really the 75th minute that they really started to be a little bit more expansive to try and equalize the match, and they were able to do that. So hats off to them for getting their first points of the season. It's always good to go home and, you know, get a point off of a team that is probably more talented than you are. I will be interested to see them play a team like Crystal Palace or a team like Everton and see what happens. Like that, I think might tell me, as far as the relegation battle, like who's really for real and wants to stay up, or who's about to go back down.
All right. And then our final match of the weekend was Aston Villa versus Tottenham, which is kind of a mid-table, but two teams who could contend for a Champions League qualifier spot. This one ended in a 2-2 draw. It was an entertaining one. And the final Tottenham equalizer came in late stoppage time in the second half. So exciting match. Treb, why don't you take it away first?
Yeah, like you mentioned, super exciting match. Evelina Sumanen got the penalty goal. She converted from the spot early on. It was one of those matches where Tottenham, for the most part, didn't get many looks at goal. They only had 4 shots the whole match. That's something we're going to have to talk about, too, if this continues through the first few games of the season, are just teams having little to no offense. That is an interesting strategy. Whereas Villa had 19 shots on goal, but couldn't really hit the target. They were able to score in the second half. They got 2 really quick goals, Adriana Leon in the 78th minute, and then it looked like Rachel Daly got the winner. This was, to me, probably the most fun match of the matches this past weekend. I know that the West Ham Liverpool match was also really exciting, but again, unfortunately, I missed the last 10 minutes of that match. I said a lot of people, so I can't really be excited about something I ain't see. That's just the way it goes. You know what I'm saying? I can't. I'm not a lost boy like that. I don't have that imagination. But just when it looked like they were going to lose the match, Bethany England does what she does. Got the goal late in stoppage time for the draw. Tottenham are a team we talk about as being on the cusp. A team that we feel like should and could take those next steps towards being a competitor, but we have to see. I think this match, probably not the result that they wanted, but it showed a lot. Like I said, they were struggling in the final third. They couldn't get their shots off. It looked like Villa weren't really dominant the whole match, but they controlled the match, the flow of the match. They dictated the tempo. But Tottenham was able to fight through and get the win. And I think anytime you can get a point on the road, it's always a good thing. So it's TBD on how we think Tottenham will be in terms of the overall scale of the season. They are in 3rd place, though. So they're doing enough.
So would you say that Aston Villa would look at this result based off of the off of the gameplay and the match state more as a loss than a draw?
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Like I said, they outside of the penalty early on, Villa controlled that match. It very much felt like a match they probably, while down 1-0, were probably like, we should be winning right now, or we should at least have a draw. And then when they got the draw late in that second half, it was like, okay, we have our point. And then they really turned it up. And that's when they got that second Rachel Daly goal, because they were being more aggressive. They were taking it to Tottenham. They had kind of woken up from that equalizer. They were like, okay, this is still our match. Like, we've been in control this whole time. And like I said, it looked like Rachel Daly got the winner. But they just fell asleep at the wrong time. That's what kind of good teams do, is they lull you into that sense of security and that sense of desperation. You know, when the ref says 5 minutes of stoppage time and you're looking up at the clock and it's 5:55, 56, 57. You know, when you're a team that is kind of desperate for points, you're like, hey, blow the whistle, blow the whistle, blow the whistle. And that's all you need is a second to turn it off. And Tottenham took advantage of that second, and then they got the draw. So I think for Villa, like you said, Tom, it definitely feels like a loss more than a win, or more than a point shared.
Who do you think between these two is more likely to finish higher in the table now? I think when we did our preseason previews and predictions, I think a lot of us had Tottenham kind of a little bit stronger on paper. But now, what do you think?
I still think that. I still think Tottenham. Like I said, they're in 3rd right now. They haven't looked probably the strongest of the top 5 teams, but they're there. And I think that was coming into the season, all anybody wanted to see from them is just that fight. Like, can they have that fight to put them in contention at the very least? Because I don't think anyone thinks that they're going to win the championship. That's not a question. But I think we just wanted to see, could they finish maybe in a Champions League spot? Could they finish at least fighting for that? And we're seeing that Villa, I think, is a surprise because they needed that point because that's the only point they got so far this season. And it kind of leads into something that I wanted to talk about with you guys, kind of as a greater topic, is are we starting to see separation from teams? Because just looking at the table, it's like we have the group of top five that seem to, at least from the eye test, look to be the stronger five, kind of pulling away from everybody. And then, in my opinion, we have 6, 7 Brighton and Liverpool, kind of the two questions in terms of like, okay, are they good? Are they going to be bad? We still have yet to see. And then, in my opinion, there's everyone else kind of fighting for relegation, and that's 1, 2, 3. That's 5 teams that have, in my opinion, looked really bad in the first 2 games of the season. Again, only 2 matches, really early, but just would like to get your thoughts on that.
I don't think so. I don't think that we're seeing true separation yet. I think that it's difficult when 2 of the 4 most talented teams play each other to open the season. Like it's great for TV ratings. It's great for the neutral fan. But as far as like, it doesn't help like separate them from the rest of the league. Like I still think that Arsenal's a better team than Tottenham right now. I still think that City is a better team than Tottenham right now. I think probably once we get to the 4 or 5 match mark, I think we might have a better understanding of the table and how it's going to look, how it's going to shake out from then to April and May. Because, and I still like, I'm not convinced that even though they are one of 2 teams that have collected all 6 points and you can only play the schedule that's in front of you, I'm not convinced that United's that good.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I guess that's also what I'm basing it on, is less the points and more just the eye test in terms of what we've seen from the teams, because it feels like there's a very clear difference between those that are competent enough to sustain this level of play for the season and those that very much look like it's going to be a long year.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's jumped out to me is the depth with the top teams. I mean, like obviously we went through it with Chelsea, but with City, like being able to bring a Mary Fowler off the bench, for example. For Arsenal to have has Russo been starting or has she been coming off the bench?
I think I want to say she's been starting because I feel like Blackstenius is the one coming off the bench. And
it was one of Blackstenius started against City. Russo came off the bench for that, and then Russo started this past match.
We also have the Champions League, and then Russo started Champions League. That's what it was too. So.
Right, and then I see Beth Mead. I guess she started some games and come off the bench for others.
That's what's hard about a team like Arsenal City. Like they're navigating Champions Leagues too, so I think they're starting 11. The first couple of matches are not to be taken as kind of like the final starting. You know what I mean? Because they're
I don't know how you can say that, Treb, because my manager decided that the only reason that he wasn't going to make a change from what he made in the midweek was because apparently they messed up the whole Bunny Shaw visa situation. So
oh god.
At least Jonas isn't that incompetent. I'll say that.
Yeah.
We're better than one team. That's good.
I do think that we're going to see, because this week is the start of the Leagues Cup. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think
like I
that
said, Liverpool play.
Man U.
I forgot who I said earlier. Sorry.
Man United. Yeah. So I think that we're actually going to see teams like. We're going to get a better understanding of what teams are, and like we're going to see what their eye test is, because I think that one of the reasons that I think that I see that Arsenal and City are better than Tottenham is because they've played more matches. Like we've seen them play more matches.
That's fair too. Yeah.
And so I think that with the Leagues Cup coming up, we're going to see those teams that didn't qualify for Champions League now have to play in a different competition and qualify for the knockout stages of the Leagues Cup. I think we're going to have a better understanding of a team like Liverpool, of a team like Tottenham, of a team like Manchester United, because they're going to have to play each other and advance in this group. And actually, Mark, I'm not sure that I know what the format is of this, and I think that you had
perfect segue.
Right.
Yeah. If we want to, yeah, we can absolutely segue to
go right into it.
To League Cup. So now, as I think about it, I don't know if there were any prior stages. No, that's right. It's just the League Cup is obviously, well, not obviously, but it involves all 23 teams in the WSL and the WSL Championship. And so the way they did it, so they did a draw with 20 teams, 20 of the 23 teams. And they were drawn into 5 groups of 4 each. And those groups are Group A is Everton, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Newcastle United representing the championship. Group B are Blackburn Rovers, Durham, Sheffield United, and Sunderland, all from the championship. Group C are West Ham, the only WSL team in this group, Southampton, Portsmouth, and London City Lionesses. Group D are Birmingham from the championship, Bristol, of course, just recently back to the championship, joining Brighton and Leicester. And Group E are Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, and Tottenham from WSL, joining Charlton from the championship. Now, as I mentioned, those are only 20 of the 23 teams. The other 3 teams, you may have noticed I did not mention Arsenal, Man City, and Chelsea. They do not have to do the group stage because they are in the Champions League. Now, in past years, when one or two of those teams...
the one thing that this is done properly, like, yes, thank you. Do not let the teams in the Champions League also have to do this group stage. Anyway,
because... Well, and in the past, when they haven't made it, if a team didn't make it to the group stage, if they got knocked out in one of the qualifying rounds, then they'd have to be folded into this stage of the League Cup, and like there would be like one group of 5, and it gets wacky. But so I like that this is simple. It also makes it so that it's only the group winners that are going to go through. Because, it's only going to be 5 teams that go through from the group stage, joining the big 3, making that the quarterfinal round, which would be in January. I don't know if you guys have any initial thoughts about any particular groups or matchups that you were interested in seeing.
Does every team in every group play home and away?
No. So that's a great question. So no, it's actually only going to be 3 fixtures each. So there will be 3, what do you call these, match days, October 2nd, or the week of October 2nd, the week of November 22nd, and the week of December 11th. Yeah. So... it's like I mentioned, it's only 3 matches each, and points accumulated, 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and the top team goes through.
I think Group A and Group E are the most intriguing, just right off the bat, that jump out the most, because in Group A you have Everton, Liverpool, United, Newcastle, and then Group E you have Villa, Charlton, Crystal Palace, and Tottenham. And I think just those 2 groupings of teams have so many, like Tom mentioned earlier, just like so many storylines and so many, like, okay, these are the teams that we need to see more of to see like what they really are. And we're going to see it against one another like that. That's going to be the fun part. They're going to have to play one another, and so this will be a great opportunity to see which teams are going to look at this tournament and say, okay, we may not be competitors for the WSL, but let's get a trophy out of this. I think.
Yeah.
Gosh, dude, I feel like I've been glazing the rivals way too much, but like I think for sure Tottenham has to be coming into this tournament looking at it like, okay, we're the team that have to win it, right? Because I think City, Chelsea, Arsenal are almost definitely looking towards the Champions League until they lose out. And I think if you're Tottenham not being in the Champions League, and probably if you're real with yourself, not going to be one of the 2 to 3 competitors for the WSL title, I think you look at this League's Cup and say, hey, this is our trophy, period. And so it'll be interesting to see if they have that mentality.
I think. Go ahead, Deepti.
No, I was just gonna say I'm curious about the groups themselves and how they're made, because it's interesting that like Group A has 3 WSL teams and 1 championship team, whereas there's a group with 4 championship teams. Do you know the specifics of how they did the draw? Was it just like all the pots were even? I don't know.
Yeah. So from what I've read, let's see. So I'm reading Wikipedia, best resource on the internet. Let's see. Competition came with a group stage split regionally. Is it regionally?
Okay.
Well, that would make sense then, because a lot of those teams are from the same area. Yeah, that actually would make sense because Liverpool, well, like they're grouped in the same region, because like Liverpool, Everton, like they.
Because and I know that Manchester is not that far from, not totally that far from Liverpool. Newcastle's also
it's
up
totally
north.
doable. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So respectfully, guys, our UK fans, like small country in terms of distance traveled, as someone coming from California, you know what I mean? Like our whole state can like.
Well, you know the big difference between an American and a European is that the American thinks that 100 years is a long time, and the European thinks that 100 miles is a long way. So
that's a brilliant way to put it.
Yeah.
For perspective, actually, it's a 350-mile trip from LA to Bay Area, from where I currently live to where I'm from, and like that's a quote unquote short trip for Americans. So.
But
anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
No. I was gonna say, because I think I remember reading. I think they were even called like directional groups, like the North Group or whatever before. Okay. But now it's just like it's the letters. But I do think, well, it says they're drawn regionally. So looking at the teams, that totally makes sense. Like Everton, Liverpool.
Yeah,
that's not a coincidence. No.
I like it.
Yeah. But and to your point too about teams needing this competition, the WSL teams needing this competition. I mean, I would say just this group stage playing out early on in the season for the teams that move on. That would be, I think, a big boost to the rest of their season, how they feel about it. Whereas if you get bounced from that, it's like, ooh, now we're looking at really emphasizing league finish, really hoping we do something in FA Cups, stuff like that. So, I think it's intriguing. The one group that really intrigued me is Group C, because it's 3 championship teams and West Ham, which like I think we all agree that soon, right? It's like
a glimpse into the future.
Their championship team adjacent, right? Like they finished 11th last year. They're as close to being a championship team without being what you can get. But then also, the fact that London City Lionesses are in this in that group, I feel like if you're them, you're looking at this as an opportunity, at the very least, advancing to the quarterfinals. That'd be such a big deal for them. And imagine getting a match against like a Chelsea, a Arsenal, a City. Like what a way for Michelle Kang to market her new club. Honestly,
especially since they. Yeah, and especially since they're not doing as well in the championship as I think that they had anticipated. Like they're in sixth right now.
Ooh.
They've played 4 matches. Say that again?
We haven't signed a whole lot of new players since Kang's arrival. Like, I think they're still in that, like, trying to get players to come face.
Yeah, they had like a few big signings, and I think those couple, like obviously Asani was probably the biggest of them, and she was meant to jumpstart their offense. And so, but to be fair, I haven't really followed the championship, but I might go back and see like how they've been doing. It's interesting to see that they are still sixth. Like Kang's goal is to be promoted as soon as possible, so they're gonna have to start scoring, and it looks like so their goal differential is just +1, so they've scored 5, conceded 4 in 4 matches, so maybe it's a defensive problem. Yeah, but that is interesting. I think this competition will definitely be a good test for them to see, kind of prove to themselves and prove to the rest of the teams that like they want to do. They mean business, and Kang means business.
Yeah.
Just lastly on that, like the fact that I just looked up the championship and Charlton are like pulling away from it already, and so the fact that they are in that Group E, I feel like makes it even more intriguing because they're going up against Palace, who just got promoted, and they're looking to come up and get promoted. And I think them going up against that mix of Crystal Palace, Villa, Tottenham, kind of like lower level to mid-level WSL teams, like I think that's an excellent early test for them. That's all. Like this is why these kind of cups, I love these kind of cups so much.
Yeah.
They provide so much stories.
Yeah.
So many stories and so much opportunity. So
yeah.
Do we know where we can watch the Leagues Cup?
So I didn't nail that down. So I believe the Men's League Cup is being shown on Paramount this year for U.S. audiences anyway. And so I would assume that they also have the Women's League Cup. Also, I think it's very important that we state this about the Leagues Cup. It is now the Leagues Cup. It is no longer the Continental Cup. So
R.I.P. Conti Cup.
No more Conti Cup.
I've been saying it wrong.
Yeah, we hardly knew you, Conti Cup. I'm still gonna call it Conti Cup. I don't care.
Yeah,
take care of it.
Correct.
You can call it the other cup, yeah. Not Conti Cup, but you know what people used to call it. Yeah, but so potentially on Paramount Plus in the States. I guess now that like there's no more FA player, that's where they used to have the Leagues Cup matches, the Conti Cup matches. So once again, like it's hard to find with streaming.
Maybe they'll be on YouTube and they'll actually show 90 minutes of the entire match.
It's just that's what
are we going to talk about that? Are we going to talk about that?
Is that we've been harping on YouTube because for 2 of the matches this weekend, the streams just cut out around the 80th minute for both Leicester Arsenal and West Ham Liverpool. Both like 1-0 games. Everyone was like, it was very close games too, and YouTube just decided to stop showing it.
It was already a stressful weekend as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah,
like that match cutting off like that had me confused and upset, and the only thing that kept me from crashing out for real was like jumping to the Tottenham stream for the Tottenham Villa match, and the chat going from nothing to just explosion because Arsenal fans and Liverpool fans were like, where are our matches? And when you thought it couldn't get any worse, news came in. Breaking news, like breaking news, West Ham scored in the time that it was blacked out. So, worst case scenario for the league happened. And yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like that on YouTube specifically. Just as someone with general knowledge of how YouTube streaming goes, it's not like broadcast television where there's hard outs in terms of timing. you're free to stream for as long as you want to stream. So that was very much on whoever runs it, whether it's the FAWSL that runs that stream, but whoever runs and operates that stream cut those matches off. Like it wasn't like an accident. Like they click buttons to cut those matches off. So we'll never know who it was, but I'm sure that they probably started this week off unemployed or close to it.
Come up to Miss Doucette's office. She wants to speak with you.
Yeah, and that's like a whole other thing, right? Like we talked a couple weeks ago about like what her arrival means and all the positive things it could mean for the league. You're not going to get anywhere if you can't even get the basics of showing a match from start to finish. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like what TV deals, what broadcast deals, how can we trust you with anything if we can't trust you to show 112 minutes of a match? Like it's really not that hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, to some it might sound like a small deal, like, oh, you saw most of the match, like they just didn't show the last bit of it. But no, like it is actually such a big deal in terms of being able to stream games properly, like just for the coverage of the game and just being a serious league. Like all these things make a difference.
I mean, 2 points between a champion, two teams in a championship race late in the season, and you get cut off in the 75th minute. How are people going to feel?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like this can happen. Like we got to make sure this never happens again, because that is embarrassing on several levels.
Yeah. And just to revisit the previous question, so they do have the Charlton versus Tottenham is going to stream on YouTube. They already have the live stream.
There you go. Well, here we go.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think the games are going to be on YouTube for Okay. That's what it's looking like.
So mission number 1, show the entire match. Please, start to finish, so we don't miss goals.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is the format for the Leagues Cup going to be the same as last year? So if it goes to a draw, it goes straight to penalty kicks?
I didn't...
Or is that just going to be for like the knockout stages?
That might be knockout stages, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, no, wait. No, I think you're right. Because, sorry. I'm looking at the tables on Wikipedia, and it has win, and then PW. Yeah, penalty win, penalty loss. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
Oh, is it going to be like the NWSL mini tournament where it's like you get points if you draw, but then you get an extra point if you win the penalty shootout?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean like penalty shootouts regardless of result type thing?
Correct.
Yeah, one of those. Better start practicing your PKs, everyone.
Right. I think you saw if you're watching us on YouTube, I think everyone saw the relief in our faces. Like, oh, thank God my team's not in this tournament. At least not in
literally what I
was
in everybody's face.
We have a new Champions League format. Like, well, technically, I think the women's side doesn't have the new format, right? But like,
no, they don't.
League, yeah. We don't want to worry about the Conti Cup or the Leagues Cup.
The Leagues Cup. Anyway. Well, what can we look forward to this coming weekend? Not Chelsea United, because that's been postponed. But what do we have? We've got Brighton versus Aston Villa, City versus West Ham, Arsenal versus Everton, Tottenham versus Liverpool, and Leicester City versus Crystal Palace. I personally, I think I would be most looking forward to 2 matches: Tottenham versus Liverpool, because again they're middle table teams, potential contenders for final Champions League qualifying spot, and then also the bottom of the table, Leicester City, Crystal Palace. I think, like Treb has been saying, this is going to be a good litmus test for Crystal Palace, because their first 2 matches were against teams that were very much more talented, as we say, but this one could be a little bit closer.
Yeah, they played a refreshed Tottenham side with brand new sightings and Chelsea. and kind of like just like real quickly, like when Marc was talking about that match, like I feel like the turning point in that Palace Chelsea match was definitely like that third goal. It felt like once that third goal hit, Palace was like, all right, we're cooked. Like, and so I think the subsequent four, well, good job for Chelsea running up the score. Like, as we learned last year, the goal differential absolutely matters. I still think Palace played better than that score line kind of showed. So I'm with Deepti. Those are the two matches I'm looking at this weekend, just because I feel like, again, I'm going to probably look stupid next time we record, but I feel like the Arsenal match is just, that should be an easy win for them. And then we know City's going to most likely handle business against West Ham. Brighton Villa might be fun, though. That might be a sneaky fun match in terms of like chaos and goals and sheer housery. I feel like
I agree. That's my sneaky low key. That's my sneaky low key match of like, and it's kind of like in a way it's like a prove it match in that like you're asking Aston Villa like prove that you're for real, like prove that you drawing Tottenham at home is a real result and you're a real team. And then for Brighton, like don't let you going to City and dropping points at City, like don't let that derail your season. Like can you get back on track and get back to the way that you played in match week 1? And also I just have to say this because I don't think that it hit me until like Deepti said like not Man United Chelsea. So yet again Chelsea is going to have a match in hand on all
everybody else
competitors for the last 3 seasons, and we haven't even really gotten to Champions Knockout League stages yet. So we're just giving Chelsea a match in hand.
Yeah,
and they're so good.
And also,
like knowing them going into matches, knowing what they need, like
exactly.
It's diabolical.
Also, if I may stir the pot a little more, so yeah, like Chelsea would have had Man U and then their Champions League match and then the Arsenal match, but now they don't have that Man U match, so they're just chilling for the weekend.
They get to rest.
Essentially. So they may go into that Arsenal match a tiny
bit
fresher.
Again, though, Everton should be a rest match. That should be a rest match for Arsenal. Like it should be same.
And Chelsea doesn't have to travel to the continent to play Real Madrid, right? They're coming to
They're coming to London.
Oh, are they?
Let me double check that.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Madrid's playing in London.
The fix is in, folks. The fix is in. This is corruption of the highest order.
You see it.
This is corruption.
Yeah. Whereas we're gonna go back to the scheduling aspect. Like Arsenal has Everton at home, then they have to travel to Germany to play Bayern midweek on Wednesday, and then they're back on Saturday at home again against Chelsea. Well, we know like one day does make a difference, but also like they're not going to be rested. Like it's.
And then
Chelsea chilling in London the whole time. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Because that's the other thing. They're in London. It's not like, oh my God, a road match to Arsenal. It's literally
across town.
So they're essentially at home for the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. And then that Arsenal Chelsea match is on Saturday, while all the other matches are on Sunday. You couldn't have put that match on Sunday, like
I hope we make them pay for their crimes. That's absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Wow.
Marc, which match are you most looking forward to?
Well, since my team isn't playing,
since you got the bye, oh my God.
Yeah, I guess I'll check on my rivals. Yeah, I'll see. I think that I mean, we've been saying it for Arsenal versus Everton and City versus West Ham. Like, those are matches they should win. Those are probably matches you should try to run up the score if you can. So, and I think also okay, like there is obviously value in scraping by wins, but you can't do that every match. Like, you've got to have some sort of like identity and sort of way of playing, and these matches are the perfect opportunity to try to establish that early on in the season. So yeah, I'm gonna be looking to see what how Arsenal and City look in these matches.
All right, good. All right, folks, I think we've been talking a lot. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us this long. I know we were rambling, got some stuff off our chest as well. But you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Hit that follow button to stay up to date when new episodes drop. Leave a rating and review if you can. We would love to hear your feedback. And you've got 12 teams, 6 matches, 4 hosts every single week. You are listening to The 12. Clock's ticking, and we'll see you next week.